Peace, Malik, if you're still here. I'm a little bit late, but I knew I would be as I was making it. Yeah, whoever's in here, as soon as we file in, and let's get this started, and let me know what you need, because it has been a long day. All right, and my time has been wasted all day, so I would like to use it productively with you all. All right, so substance. All right, Malik, let me know what you need. Let me know what you need. This is the time. If you could come into my empty classroom, you let me know what you need. I think one of the reasons that there is always stagnation in the class, where all the years that I've taught, is that there are certain lulls, and they seem like lulls because I'm expecting the student to utilize what I've given them and come to the point of new questions. A lot of times students grade themselves by exceptional progress, and the only progress barometer that we have is memorizing 120 lessons. You know what I mean? And even sometimes even memorizing and understanding, which sounds awkward, but actually is a reality, an incorrect reality. So, this is something we need to think about. Knowledge Allah, peace. Jarrell, peace. Yeah, I'm actually okay. I'm actually okay here. It was a little peace sign. Um, it's more the travel, and that I don't know if I would, it would take me forever to get back. That's really my problem. If I went to a law school today, it would, I'm out here in Stanton, it would take me forever to get back. Um, although I did expect to go to the school today, you know what I'm saying? So I figured I'd just do it online and stuff like that. So there's so many factors that keep coming up. It makes me question the type of pedagogy that we have in the that we ought to have in the community. You know what I mean? I'll say this: even though my experience is teaching many students directly, I collect students through them probably a very unorthodox means. And it sounds weird, but I collect most of my students via the classroom, and then now via the works that I do, whether it be books that I was part of, like the Knowledge of Self, or just people following the music, hip hop music, or something like that on social media. You know, I think you mean the 1 to 40, Cyan, right? I don't remember the 1 to 14. Really talking about. You know about that. For those who have 1 to 14, as I built with Saeem, I consider the 1 to 14 very um, a militarized set. You know, when you break it down on a lot of levels, and I have to write it out. You know what I mean? Think about it, uh, flesh it out. Write a personal piece about it. Yeah, because in my notes now, I don't have all those that overarching theme build. But to me, the 1 to 14 is very militaristic. You know what I mean? In other words, the reality of how we will deal with everything abroad, it really questions behaviors and mentalities. How the family will be weaponized against the devil, at home and abroad. All of these things are in there. You know what I mean? And every degree is relevant to that final reality of the family that is discussed in the last several degrees. The personal mandates of word is bond. You know what I mean? How to receive, how to receive those who are grafted and want to get elevated. Those who um, how to reject those, and how to exile those who are not right and exact and happen to be grafted, right? The ninth and 10th degrees, right? Respectively. We keep finding research about them, but the most important thing is like how would it go? You know what I mean? And that's peace saying. The There was something I read. What was it that I read recently that I actually built on? It was in a book. So there's two type of books I end up reading. The type of books that I read already and that I'm now writing about in my journal, looking through for the notes highlighted and writing about them, and then the books that I'm actually reading at the present moment. And I think this was a book that I was writing notes about. You know what I mean? And it had something about the 25,000 years, but I can't remember. Shit, I wish I remembered. Um, but that was the last time I really was sparked about the 25,000 years. You know, let me see if I remember it quickly. See if it was separate writing. Be able to figure out which book it was. Could have been Gravity. Could have been Gravity. The reason that you take notes, the reason that you make notes in books is because a lot of your understanding isn't going to come out of a book and just correlate with 120. The truth is that a lot of the things that you read are actually going to blend together. You know what I'm saying? They're going to blend together. So they're not going to just be by themselves. But give me a minute. I actually want to get something and put it in my drink. What you're actually hearing is I just really wanted to put some lime inside my water. I've been enjoying that all day, and now this glass of water just isn't doing it. However, at the same time, a beautiful creature of mine is calling me. So give me one moment. Alma? Yeah, Alma. I'm actually in my class right now as we speak. So I'm on live, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did I call you too late?
You did, but I want to call you very early. I'm gonna call you tomorrow, okay? I'm gonna call you very early, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, kiddo.
Hey, Bobby, you want to see me play?
No, I can't see you playing now. I gotta teach that class.
Okay, well, I guess you can stay here. And
Okay. I will call you early in the morning, okay?
Okay.
All right. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. So now we got the lime in the drink. And now. Okay. All right. Where were we? All right. All right. Thank you, 793rd. Yeah, she's a blessing. You know what I mean? She's the best. She's the best. You know? Let's see. Anyway, I can't really remember exactly what it was. I think I might be confusing it with my concepts of special relativity and the speed of light, because it wasn't in this book, man. But if I find it, I will just share that with you, Saeem, when I find it. Um, But as far as the 25,000 years, right? It's like a year to every mile. You know what I'm saying? So, man, this, I know it was in the book, but there is a concept of this idea of time and distance, you know, and it's in the it's in the theory of relativity. You know what I'm saying? And that they're all linked. You know, and so that link between time and the time of years, you know what I'm saying? The time of years and the actual space that one is traveling though are very linked. You know what I mean? And that there will be some kind of activity to every inch. I really can't. It's like the understanding is on the tip of my tongue because I had articulated it before. You know what I mean? And I just can't remember how it properly went though. This is something I've been working on for a long time, you know, and it was just quite there, but not there yet. You know what I'm saying? As far as explaining it, you know, um, but this degree obviously has taken a lot of my time, you know, in my life. You know what I'm saying? Um, this idea that time and space are relative. In this case, the space is the mileage, right? The mileage in circumference. You know what I mean? The movement that you make. You see what I'm saying? And that time is relative to that. So when we look at things, the degree is really not telling you like equal to his own circumference by adding a year to every mile. It's that those two things are linked. That every time someone walks a mile, plans a mile. In other words, the mile isn't just walking, the mile is the activity. And every single square mile is the activity of reality. And at every time that there is an action of activity, then that means that time, not only is time taken, but space is taken as well. And those two dimensions become real with the action that our mind, that once our mind has realized it, now is engaging, it becomes then real. You know, it's it's intriguing thought, something that I've been expressing. But the theory of relativity is somewhere in that. It's somewhere explaining a lot of that. You know what I mean? Let me see if I could find some. You know, in the theory of special relativity, the closer that you get to the speed of light, the slower time passes for you. You know what I mean? I liken this here. Let me explain something here because I think it's useful. And again, I talk about correlating different materials, different research and stuff. This is something I explained, I built on before. You know what I mean? Um, you know how an athlete, let's say Jordan or anybody else that gets into a zone at the end of a game and you know isn't choking, they say they see things slower. But what happens is that their own thoughts, the way they're thinking, they have become so comfortable to think so fast that they are moving, that their mind is thinking thoughts so fast that we could say that they have linked with that speed of light, with that massive, endless speed of thought, which obviously equating now with the physical body in many respects is almost like the speed of light. And because of that, though, things appear to be slower to them. They see things a little bit faster. You know what I mean? And that's what that means when you get into the zone, you know? And it's really all linked. So when we look at a year to every mile, it's really the couplage of time and space. You know what I mean? That the thoughts that you have, they will take a space. But when they are planned right and exact, right? Because the Nation of Islam is all wise and does everything right and exact. When that thought is placed right and exact, it actually will take a space. And because it absolutely will take a space of doing, because it is righteous and exactly done. You see, sometimes right and exact seems mysterious because it's shorthand. In my understanding, it is shorthand in righteously intended and exactly done. The coupling of someone's intent righteously done, right, to and to a completely exactly correct measure, that is what causes the linkage between a year to every mile. So it doesn't mean that you're walking the globe. You know what I mean? And now your history is written in advance. It really means the space that you will take, the things that you will do. You know what I mean? And it is in accord with the circumference of the planet Earth, because it is what? Because that mileage is expressing of time. You see what I'm saying? Time is expressed also by the way that the Earth is rotating. You know what I mean? It's just very intriguing. Very intriguing. A year to every mile. You know? It's a profound degree, though. Very influential. It should be very one that causes a lot of meditation and thought. When you think about it. You know. Well, it seems like another good question. I hope that answers the question. I don't know if I veered away or anything like that, but you just asked me how I see this 25,000 years, so I just kind of riffed off something I've been thinking about. Being that the devil power is less than 1/3 of the original man, what was meant, or what is the other 2/3? You mean the other? Because, well, yeah, I think you're getting that wrong, Malik. Right? Being that the devil's power is less than 1/3 of that of the original man, what was meant, or what is the other 2/3? Well, obviously the devil doesn't have the other 2/3. It's all really within proportion. You know what I'm saying? So it's really not specific to anything. You know what I'm saying? They have a certain amount of muscle. It's just a fraction. You know what I'm saying? So it's really as simple as if the original man could bench 300, they can only bench 100. You know what I mean? And this kind of concept as a whole, as a people. You know? The thing is, power is very abstract, so it could mean strength also. Yeah, it's not really. Yeah, Malik. Yeah, she's a cutie. You know what I mean? She was a little sad though. Now she misses me a lot. So it's very it's a the first 6 years of her life I was with her every day. Um, since 2020, the beginning of 2020, I haven't. And that's been very difficult for her. So um, because we have these video conferences and video calling though, sometimes it's not really it's often not a conversation. She's so young. A lot of times I just watch her play for an hour or so. You know what I'm saying? And that's the blessing of the technology. You know what I mean? My oldest daughter, I didn't have that opportunity, so it's much more difficult. I could say, right? It's much more difficult. It's not from the book Biocentrism or I've read 2 of the 3 biocentrism books. I'm actually going to start the third one. Um, this is where reading gets fun because I finished my goal of 52 books a year. I've read 53 books already, so now I could read bigger books or you know or dive into some longer books. You know what I mean? Um, or really enjoyable books. You know what I mean? Like, just read freely. You know, if that's makes any sense. You know. Good questions to start off. The type of questions that the student asks um, are exactly how, you know what I'm saying, are really how I get there. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the stuff that you would need to hear, um, the questions that you ask are going to get you to the point. They're also going to let me know where you're at. You know what I mean? As a student. Wow. All right. Shaquem, peace. Knowledge Allah. So that 32nd degree builds on the devil have inferior brain power in the sense of 7.5 and 6 ounces. How would you break down the scientific strides the devil is currently making? What scientific strides are we talking about? You know, because right now we're being pumped with gene therapy right now, and basically advanced eugenics, in the form of gain of function research. So I don't know what current strides are being made, and a lot of the strides that are made in technology are really made by the original man abroad often. Whether in India and Asia and whatnot. So I don't know. I don't know what strides they're making. Truth is that what we're dealing with here is a deliberate or an accidental bioweapons failure. Just as an example with COVID. So in the research it suggests that, and history, um, kind of history would kind of force us to insinuate that. Yeah, I don't know if I answered that question, Angela. Because my answer is with a question, so it's kind of um, dismissive, definitely. You know, definitely dismissive because I don't, you know what I mean. I don't see the strides very amazing. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the strides very amazing because all of these amazing things, and there are amazing things, but nothing is made in this devil civilization without massive collateral. And I don't find it an incredible invention. You know what I'm saying? The truth is that all of these things have brought harm. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it, people have conspiracies, but the technical stuff, um, the technical things like technology advances like 5G. That's also not good for the waves, and you know are not good for the body. You know what I mean? They refuse to cut the blue light on the cell phones. You know what I mean? Some people, and if you do, they don't let people know. Like, just put those blue light filters on as much as you can. You know what I mean? Nothing is really made with concern, and very little is made with the ability to make it safe. So it's so unimpressive to me. It's very unimpressive. You know, but like look at social media. I mean, not social media, just social media, but the internet, which breeds social media. The internet was something that was a weapon. Weapons of information relaying, because information is the most important thing in the art of war. Read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's the longest chapter by far. By far, it's the longest chapter. Easily the longest chapter. And we look at things like that, and the internet originally tried to charge and tried to limit its space, but then once bandwidth and all these things allow for that space to be used, because there's no such thing as a limitation of space on the internet. But then once the bandwidth gets larger and they can actually accommodate what gets put into those spaces, then they utilize it by letting us have free reign in spaces under a specific guise. You know what I mean? And it just amplifies the fact that we're not a society that, it's a society of truly 85. You know what I mean? Of the 85%, because we don't use the social media correctly. We don't try to look at it as an extension of how we communicate with each other. You know what I'm saying? We use it as a venting device, a machine like that, or some kind of like voyeurism. And voyeurism goes both ways. The obsession to watch things, you know what I mean? Watch people do everything, you know what I mean? Intimately. But also, voyeurism goes to the person that's engaging in, like, people that just want to be watched doing mundane things to make themselves feel more important. You know what I mean? This is the cipher that we're in now. It's quite, it's often gruesome to me. you know, I, you know, very gruesome. Peace, Rome. Right? It's good questions. By the way, I'm making an announcement though. These classes, these sessions that I am teaching martial arts directly to students. These sessions they do cost. Um, I'll be honest with you. If you add up the amount of hours, not just in the session alone, because you could do that and it'll be a deal, quite the deal. And think about how much time I spend with you per session, um, how much materials I will give you, and how much time that I spend during the week engaging you to make sure that you're training properly throughout the entire week. Um, my martial sessions in my developed concentrated supremacy program are steel. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing those through the Zoom for those of you for anyone that wants to learn outside of NYC, and I'm also teaching the courses to those that sign up. Saturdays, right now, Saturday, this Saturday at Fort Wadsworth in Staten Island, but also Sunday in Harlem. You know what I mean? So if you're interested in the martial arts, if you want to get a foundation in the martial arts, um, if you want what I teach you to be the lifestyle that you live, then I can teach that to you. If you want it to be that and then go into another school of thought, then I could prep you for that as well. So what I'm teaching those is is for the martial artists that can do a lot of things. You know what I mean? It can't. It can be because I'm teaching it knowledge a lot. You know what I'm saying? It can be because I'm teaching it. You know what I mean? Um, it's it's certainly over online. If I teach you online, certainly over the internet, a lot of it would definitely depend on your ability to understand how I'm teaching. Okay, and I've taught this a long time, but at the same time, though, um, there are so many intricacies, and there's a lot that I see, so I certainly could teach you, and prime you to be ready for it. You know, what is missing from that? What is missing from that is the sparring element, right? And not with other people, but really with me, so I could show you how moves feel and stuff. But I certainly can get you engaged where you would be ready to go to a school of any kind, and the lifestyle, um, the literary education, the materials, and certainly the personal training that you would need to really develop yourself, right? Um, would have to do. That's my pop on.
Oh, I forgot. I didn't see.
That's all right. Yeah, but but yeah, it definitely would be effective. You know what I mean? Definitely would be effective. And if you look online, though, there are people that teach this online where it's not even personal in that sense, but you're you're um you're paying for an actual set lecture class. So I wouldn't be there. You'd be watching a video of me. You know what I mean? There are things that I would share with you, and I would obviously with the Zoom and stuff, I would allow you to actually record it and keep the lecture for yourself. But that type of instruction, a lot of people don't know that the martial arts take a lot of instruction, but they also take a lot of personal engagement. You know what I'm saying? And and the truth is that most of the martial arts, to really understand it, to really come to a level where you can really use it, where it becomes part, is the repetition of the proper move. You know what I mean? And that's something that I could get you to a closer level, though, online. You know what I'm saying? Um, Certainly in a program that would definitely prepare you to find the type of teacher that you would want to pay for, which would be, I would guarantee you, a much more exorbitant amount. You know what I mean? If you go ask around, though, what I'm charging is a steal. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, halftime, if you have training already in Wing Chun, though, then it would be very easy to pick up with you online. I don't know where you're at. I don't know where you're at halftime. You know what I mean? But obviously, if you're in the New York City area, though, I could teach you more effectively, obviously, if you were here in person. But those who've never been introduced to the martial arts and stuff like that, understand that the martial art isn't just about doing special kung fu moves. You know what I'm saying? Um, the more that you prepare your body, those particular moves that are unique to you are going to come out. You know what I mean? So, what would really depend on the student that would be online only would be his ability to make a cipher with enough space to perform and engage with me. You know what I mean? If you were able to make enough room in your Zoom cipher, so that way I could have you do what you need to do, then that would be fine. You know what I mean? And I could teach you a lot of things. And that means that I would be teaching you the lifestyle. So I would be teaching you a lot of the engagements of it, or how to train and really get your body up to a level of real effectiveness. You know what I mean? And you know what? What's interesting is that part of the reason I'm late is because I only could train a little bit later. And I probably had one of the most um, sluggish, most tiring training sessions I've had for a long time, you know, and most likely, I keep it real, it is probably because of the 3 vegan donuts I had for my oldest daughter's birthday. You know what I mean? Um, they impact me a few days later, and I kind of felt slower. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the lower my body fat gets, the more I feel these differences. You know what I'm saying? So, but I persevered through it though, and even at the end of this, definitely by the end of tomorrow, is most likely possible that my body fat percentage, along with other things, would probably be lower than it was even before. But these kind of things are the difficulty. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you all have my email. So when you're ready for stuff like that, you let me know. Okay. Again, the rates are something that are definitely affordable, and I definitely wouldn't just say get online. Let me show you a kick or two. Uh, do fancy shit that you could never do, um, and then leave you like that. You know what I'm saying? Every student that I teach anything, becomes effective at what they do. You know what I mean? Certainly. Um, the sessions, the live sessions are about $25 a session. The sessions online though are 15. Um, Training live with me in person, I probably train you about 2 hours though. So just do the math on that. What I'm charging and how long I train you. Um, and then online it'll probably be an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? Probably an hour and a half. And of course, so there's a lot of materials and things that I give to you, so you can engage with and study and stuff. And of course, once I start training you, if you become regular, then then we regularly build about how you're training and what you can do and stuff, and what type of things you need to do. You know what I mean? Right. So anyway, if that is interesting to you, if that is of interest to you, if that is not. If you're in the New York City area, know that I'm going to be training this Saturday at the Fort Wadsworth in Staten Island. Though, you know what I mean? Uh, Sunday I'll be out in Harlem though. But if you're interested, you let me know. I'll tell you where we're at. Probably around 103rd Street, Central Park West is the area that I train people at. Peace to God, complete God. All right. That's Peace, Jarrell. That's Peace, Jarrell. Well, you let me know. You let me know, and then if you're interested in stuff, we'll set up a time and stuff. If get the sessions in and start that work. You know what I mean? You know, one of the ways to build as an exercise, and just since today's mathematics is wisdom, and I think of that, a lot of this on the single digit days, not really the. Of course, you could do it any of the other days, but since it's more simple, I kind of apply it to the single digit days. You know what I mean? Um, Asking the question of the supreme mathematics, right, to the particularities of a set of degrees. So today's is wisdom, right? What would we say is wisdom, right? People go, it's the way. I like to say it's the usefulness of knowledge, right? And in some respect, what is the usefulness? What is the way? What is the what is the activation in the degree? You know what I'm saying? Oftentimes, like in many respects, you know what I mean? Like wisdom is kind of like asking, like what is the verb? What is the verb of the degree? Like what is the action? So you take this exercise to supreme math. I mean, excuse me, not supreme math, supreme student enrollment. Saying everything, saying the error again. So student enrollment. You take this idea into student enrollment. Who is the original man? That wisdom would be what? The original man is the maker, the owner of the cream of the planet Earth. The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner of the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. In this respect, what would be the usefulness of the degree? If you say it in your understandings, what is the way of the degree? The way is that he is God of the universe by being what? Well, the way is that he is the father. The way is that he is a maker and owner. And by way of, like, in other words, using that understanding you have of wisdom in the applications in the degree, by way of being the Asiatic black man, his origins, his nature, the supremacy of his reality makes that degree useful. So now what is the usefulness? Because I often say usefulness is wisdom. What is the usefulness in this? The usefulness in that is really, for me, in the maker and the owner. The maker and the owner, to me, is the most profound part of this degree in our daily use, because it is the one thing that we have to work on. We are the maker, but we are not the owners. So how do we become the maker and the owner? And the owner doesn't mean dominion over, it means responsibility of. You see? It means responsibility of. So how does the maker of all things become the take properly use what he has made? He becomes the owner, the one who is most responsible for it. You see, this is how I apply wisdom to that knowledge degree. You know what I mean? Who is the colored man? The colored man is a Caucasian white man. Yaku's graphic devils of the planet Earth. Well, I keep saying, right? Close some of these things here. I also say wisdom is the diligent effort, right? Diligent effort, the usefulness, the activation of knowledge is in our mind's diligent effort to work a usefulness of this idea. The colored man is a Caucasian white man. If the colored man is a reality of an idea, it's a reality of separation. You know what I mean? There are aspects of his reality that separate him from normal man, right? It makes him abnormal in a certain sense. And yet he is man. He is man, but not man. He has an existence that has been altered to create what he would not normally come about, not normally be birthed. You see? So the colored man is someone that comes through great effort. And when we think about that, the great effort also spawns great conflict, right? Then that becomes the way. That is the wisdom of it. That is the wisdom of the colored man. Because he comes here through great effort, great altered effort, right? then there produces a great altering conflict for us, right? So what is the usefulness? To me, a lot of the usefulness, though, is in the definition, the breakdown of what a colored man is, and the genius of saying colored man in there. And colored man, a man that was some action was taken to him. That's a wisdom. Colored, something has happened to him. He is a colored man. Color seen through the reflection of light. The lighter the color, the more reflection. Black absorbs all light, right? And white reflects all light. So he cannot absorb the energy. He is lacking in the absorbing of the energy, right? And so now that conflict is now telling you that he has to what? He has to absorb. He has to constantly collect energy from others, right? These are all thoughts coming out of wisdom. You know what I mean? All thoughts coming out of wisdom applied to a degree. You know? Yeah, those donuts, man. And donut kind of look like that too. Right? All vegan. I don't eat no dairy or nothing like that. But the thing is, I don't eat flour. So even the bread that I use for sandwiches is a flourless bread. So the little bit of flour that I'll have is, I feel it more. Good question, Malik. Right? I'll stunt the exercise of wisdom to every degree in the 1 to 10 for a moment. You asked, how do we show and prove that there are two germs, one of black and one of brown, right? First off, that's simple genetics, right? But at the same time, though, it's also representative of the idea of dominant and recessive. You see? Within the original man's body, right, there is a supremacy of dominant and recessive, right? For example, our limbs have legs, we have legs and we have arms. The arms, it doesn't matter how much muscle you get, they are going to be recessive in dominance compared to the legs, right? But because of that, though, they have more detail, right, that can be performed with them, more agility, certain things that can be done that the legs cannot do, right? So when we talk about the black and the brown, we're talking about those aspects that are most dominant and most recessive. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that one is, we could say one is stronger, one is weaker, right, in respect. But in the example I gave you just about the hands versus the feet, they serve different purposes within the original man's body. So it isn't one of greater or lesser. It is just that this all combines to become what actually is the complete original man. The original man is in the black germ. The original man is in the brown germ. The original man isn't the germ separated. The original man is the black and the brown germ. So that's what that's symbolic of. That's what the most meaning out of that is. You know what I'm saying? Right? I like to use W is do, wisdom is do, or is and do is like being born, be or born. Interesting. Wisdom, identify what knowledge is and what it do, and take it from there, just adding on. Very good, very good. That's a really great mental cue I've never heard. Very good. That's something you could teach the babies because it's correct. These are two definitions that are in wisdom, do is and do, and it's in there. It's hard to forget those cues like that. It's a great pedagogical tool. You know, I don't mind the breakdowns as long as they have some kind of insight that's really useful. Right? Malik, you're asking, should we apply math to every degree? Absolutely, absolutely. And what I'm trying to show you is that with many mathematics though can be used by its principle, right? Applied to any degree to give it some insight. So you could ask of any degree, What is the understanding in this degree? What is the culture in this degree? What is the power in the degree? What is the equality in the degree? You know what I'm saying? In many respects, for example, when I was building, if you rewind, you go back later, I also answered what was the power in the wisdom degree that the devil has. You know what I'm saying? Where it comes from. You know? What is their struggle with equality? Right? These are all things that are in there in the build. You know what I mean? Hope that makes sense. See what I'm saying? Okay. Um, it's crazy. I never really got asked that. Do I think there's an alternate universe? See, just so you know, like cartoons give like Marvel and stuff, they give alternate universes, and that does come from quantum mechanics and stuff. But quantum mechanics isn't saying that there are universes, like whole universes functioning where we do different things. They're not really saying that, outright. What they're saying is though is that everything to work perfectly in this world, right, is a quantum reality that worked, right? Is a quantum reality that worked and was therefore allowed to continue. Okay, so that's what Stephen Hawking's and others will have said about that. You know, and the truth is that the quantum mechanics though is a manifestation of that. That's where you get the bubble theory, the different bubbles and stuff. You know, that's also that's why what's the name of the book? Yeah, I think Brief History of Time or Briefer History of Time. Both of them are good. Um, are really good for that. You know what I mean? To begin that concept. You know, but for me, I don't know. I don't think it. I don't think so. You know, because they people will say that as well because most of the universe is dark energy. You see, but what they're not really studying is that the 70% of energy that um, is proven to be there, but not really functional in the things that we see, but necessary to be there is that dark energy or dark matter. That's actually useful to the universe here. So it doesn't sometimes people say, well, that'll prove that there's an alternate universe. That doesn't really prove that, you know? But as far as a literary device, an alternate universe is fun to think about. That's for sure. You know. Of course, I didn't debunk it either. You know, I didn't debunk it either. You know. You know what's interesting, complete, right? The truth is that we're always searching for stuff. You know what I mean? We're always searching for ideas. Um, it's just that the questions are off. When everything is question and answer, every single thing, it's a life of question and answers, inquiries, and then insights. You know what I mean? Right? Even the reality that I say of that is only happening, preparation and performance. The preparation is an inquiry into what you can develop yourself into, and the performance is the insights into that preparation has brought. That's what the performance is, and both are simultaneous often, especially when done well. So what's interesting is that we're not supposed to search for that which does not exist, right? But at the same time, we're always searching for things. We're always searching for insights and clues and ideas. You know what I mean? And I think one way that we could not search for that which does not exist is not put make not make definite possibilities. You know what I mean? And say, oh well, you know, like how people go, even some gods, like they'll say this, and I totally disagree. Like, there's got to be something else here because you know we can't be the only ones. You sound like you do with a mystery god, because that means that you're not you're not valuable enough to be the one that has created all this, and to be the one that is going to mind and study and see everything that is happening. You know, that says a lot. You know what I mean? But the development of the question, as you said, questions are key, and you certainly are 100% correct to me with that. The development of the question by the student, by the lifelong student who is inquiring, who now is a scientist because he's endlessly asking questions, is the ability to take everything that is truly known and not assume to be possible, and not mixing those two things into the question. You see? When you ask that question, whatever question it is, and I mean you rhetorically, if it is mixed up to what you consider a definite possibility, then now you've ruined the question. You've put mystery into the question. See? So the search for a mystery god is more basic example. We know there's something has to be out there, and then we search for it. So you know that there's something out there. But you don't really know. You know, you just really feel that there ought to be something out there. That's really the answer. You ought, you know, the those who deal with mystery feel that there ought to be something out there, and there isn't. There is no mystery. Right? The aliens, I'm going here. The peace, God. The aliens built the pyramids. And that's based off assumptions, right? Because you look at what you see now and you say, you think linear. Well, this is the greatest it could be, and we couldn't build it, so someone else had to come and build it. It's the ego of the moment, that you were in the greatest moment. You see? So somebody couldn't have built that, right? Nobody could have built that before you. Supreme being God, you said what knowledge of himself? Does it also mean him colored, not knowing he was grafted? I'm not sure where you're getting. Are you saying that? I'm not sure where you're getting at, but in today's world, no one has a knowledge of themselves, right? And so the colored man having a knowledge of himself, right, knowing that his legacy is of those that are grafted, that certainly is something, that ought to be, that ought to be ought to be taught. Well, if you're talking about the second degree and the 1 to 14, they had no direction. You see, so they had to know of their capabilities, and the greatest way for Musa to have taught them their capabilities and what they need to do is to give them the knowledge of themselves in that respect. But it's also trick knowledge, because that knowledge of self didn't come with levels of humanity. It came with, here's how you can function best. It didn't come with what ought to be. So there are no morals in it. There's no mathematics in it. There's no teaching that if you go this way, you will not last. You will have a set birth record. You see? So it's the difference. Indeed, 793. That was a very good teaching tool. Yes, peace, complete God. I read McCullough's book, Kareem. It's very, very useful. It has great references. Probably the best book to read to really get a hold on all of this. You know. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Definitely, definitely recommend it. Not only that though, but it also gives protocols and what I see as the best general protocol, pre-protocol, prevention protocol of a healthier lifestyle. So I found it a very, very powerful, fast read too. All right. Right, right. I haven't looked at the for those recent. I'm looking on Amazon now. Truth About COVID-19 by McCullough is a great book. Excellent book. Just the language of the Great Reset attached to COVID-19 is seems worthwhile. Berenson's books are very useful. They're short, so they're faster reads. Though I did not read. I have all of them, but I haven't. Uh, I only read the fourth one, and that was about the vaccine. So I found that useful too. Um, McCullough's is more up to date and more useful. Appreciate that, Kevin. That's peace, complete God. Whatever you can, whatever you can. Yeah, absolutely. So the Mercola book definitely has way more resources, and if Supreme Understandings compiled work has a lot of information too. That 1,200 pages worth that I haven't even fully digested yet. You know what I mean? So that's more to get into. You know, with that. If anything, I've already given you a type of assignment to go through and Let me know your questions, your builds, how you see wisdom. Substance peace. You said, what is meant by the phrase unlettered men in relation to Socrates, Aristotle, Buddha, Jesus Christ? Is it another term for false prophet? Where is that term? I don't. I've heard the term, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember them being described that way. Or I didn't read. Unlettered just means like they're not officially educated. They don't have like they're illiterate. You know, that's all that means. So, I could see them saying that about maybe not Aristotle, but Socrates, sure, not Aristotle. Um, and probably not the Buddha either. You know what I mean? Buddha wouldn't. I mean, he's gonna be. He was the son of the king. He was certainly not unlettered. Jesus Christ definitely. But it just means uneducated. It just means like poor and uneducated, right? Or even illiterate. So I doubt that Shakyamuni, founder of Buddhism, was uneducated. I would imagine that he was pretty well educated. That's been a minute. Let me see. Uh, it's been a long time since I perused through parts of Messages of Black Man, but I haven't read it since I first got knowledge. Like read through the whole thing again. It would be very difficult. It is not. It is very tedious book. Let me see where I could. Okay. Let's see if I could open that. Okay. Where do I? Okay. You said in the foreword. Of course, PDFs can be. Wait, you said in the foreword. Where is the foreword? Is it because all I have in my digital copy is the chapters? So is it in chapter one? Like what page is it? Okay. I mean, when I do a search, I only see him say that word in chapter 23rd regarding his followers being degraded that way. I don't know. I don't know where you read that in Messages to the Black Man. But yeah, that's what the word means. And I don't think it would apply to every one of those. All right, you all got quiet. Um, Let me continue this exercise where I was finding wisdom in the degrees. In this case, the 1 to 10. You get to the third, you get to the fourth, you have the populations. What's the wisdom in that? Right? What is the usefulness of that? See, mathematics are about principles. So the way that you engage things, you have to understand that a lot of the questions that we ask are based on the principles, because our questions are based in finding what is worthwhile. So most of our questions can be labeled as a degree as well, questions that we have in life. You see? So when we ask like what is worthwhile in degree, then what particularly is the wisdom of it, the usefulness of it, right? Population of the origination here, well, it's an outdated population, right? But it also reveals what, right? Those 17, but the 2 million Indians, something we didn't know before until we see that all over the planet Earth. So you get in these degrees, you get the disparity of proportion, right? This is what you think of when you think of the way. What is the wisdom, right? What is the usefulness of this though? What is the effort in this degree, right? Right? What is the way that they're even sharing this knowledge? It is these insights, right? Exact area in square miles, right? When we say what is the usefulness of that though, we're seeing something that is basic, that appears to be basic and literally becomes a setup for the next degree, right? The power behind the next degree. This entire planet Earth and just a small portion is useful in that regard, right? I forget the percentage, but it's 29 million. At 40,000, 196 million, 140. Okay. You know what I always found interesting? Only about 15% of the land is useful. So it's a very mental concept. 85%, and then what's left is 15%. You know what I mean? What is really useful? Who are really the thinkers in this land? There's so much more to explore. There's so much to explore in these things. You know what I mean? Just the usefulness. How much is the sixth and seventh degrees are literally about wisdom. The eighth degree, the usefulness of the land, right? Where is the useful? What is the reality? Right? That's wisdom itself, the usefulness. Some degrees are plain, some degrees aren't. Peace to God. Right? Applying wisdom to the said birth record of Islam, the ninth degree, right? Islam has no said birth record. It has no beginning or ending, right? It's older than the sun, moon, and stars. We keep saying that wisdom is that applied knowledge, right? What is the reality of applied knowledge but Islam itself, right? It doesn't come into existence until then, right? It literally is knowledge applied, because then we start to see the building blocks become of a way of life. So this is how we could start to see wisdom in that degree as well, right? So I'm making these mathematics and the day's mathematics become more living in certain activities. You know what I mean? What is the said birth record of other nations of Islam? What are the other ways, right? The internal way that can lead to a mystery, Buddhism. The main external way that certainly leads to a mystery, Christianity. It's all wisdom. It's all wisdom, right? Exercises. Tomorrow seems like an easy one because you're trying to see understanding. But maybe you ask, what is the understanding from different angles, not your understanding. You know what I mean? But what, let's say, what understanding has to be known to answer such a question, right? In other words, did you ever think Elijah gets asked how much useful land is used every day by the total population of the planet Earth, right? Now you really have to look at what is the possibility of someone else's understanding, because that's really where the answer to that is. So we could know, but we may not know. Indeed, wisdom is the way. Now, Angela, you said you classify Buddhism and Christianity as two different degrees of mystery. Um, in many respects, because Buddhism is more of a quest internally, like you can get lost in, right? Um, Christianity is one where you have to look outward for that answer, and then you certainly get lost. So that's what I mean by that. You know, there's so many religions of mystery though, and those were chosen though. So to me, that's my understanding of why they work so well together in that degree. Infinite mindset, I say knowledge is when you know what you know and know what you don't know. Then you were born a wise dome. Knowledge is the twofold path that leads you to wisdom or down the fool's road. You can get lost in anything, surely. Yeah, absolutely. Supreme freedom, peace. You said Buddhism is experience, Christianity is just a controlled rule book, guide of strict religion. There are rules and ideals that were memorized, you know what I mean, in Buddhism as well, you know. Certainly it is more built on experience, but there is certainly activity to be done, right? That could lead to problems. So, yeah, Buddhism is definitely also controlled. Yeah, I agree with that. Hmm. People learn the general concepts of Buddhism, but what they don't know is that there's a whole history of patriarchs and add-ons and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it definitely has its rules and regulations. You know, I'm not saying it rivals Christianity in evilness. I think far from it. You know, but but it isn't just a let yourself go kind of thing. You know. How do you see the level of control in regards to a nation independently and in relation to other said nations? The question is the whole cipher. Hmm. You gave it to the whole cipher. I'd actually am more curious about their answer than mine. You've said there's always going to be entitled people no matter what social gathering you find yourself in. Every time a group of people come together, unfortunately, I've always experienced and witnessed the 5, 10, and 85. All right. Now, July, you said because ultimately rules or regulations is ultimately a way of controlling or bring a desired outcome. In that sense, there's some of that in every nation in various degrees. Hmm. Society for one common cause and idea, a group of right men, women, and children for one common cause. However, is the cause greater than the people themselves? Can the cause be questioned? Right? There's a it's like the concept that comes up with a lot of people now that see how everything is not right and exact now. This idea of collectivism. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah, this idea of collectivism. Who is more valuable? Is it the greater good of everyone, or is it the individual themselves? And the argument against the greater good for everyone is that the only real thing in a society is the people. And often societies get lost with choosing or purporting to be for the greater good when they're really not about the greater good. You know what I mean? And the truth is that even our nation could suffer from some of that too. You know what I'm saying? The truth is that it was a westernized format. It's a westernized format that we learn this knowledge in. So we could fall victim, and often you could see fall victim to concepts of the Western world. You know what I mean? But as far as that original question, since everybody's slow to chime in, right? The control is really by, if there is control, it's by a performance of expectation and memorization and things like that. But adherence to certain things, doing certain things, you know what I mean? It is very difficult to blatantly corrupt. You know what I'm saying? Because the foundations of the teachings is so simple. You know what I mean? That they are based in righteousness, though. You know what I mean? And they've never been in a position where people have had major, major power over others. You know what I mean? So we only see it in small scales. You know, take the biggest idiots in our nation. Let's keep it real. Take the biggest idiots. You know what I mean? Example them. You know, biggest assholes, jerks, um, their way or the highway guys. Um, have they really obstructed anything? You know what I'm saying? They've become more of expert examples of why what they're doing is wrong, because they don't really have as much power as they think. You know what I mean? Right? So I just don't think that I don't think anyone really has that much power in this nation. You know what I'm saying? You know, if a person, let's say like me, has power, um, I think it's only because I'm taking no power. You know what I mean? What mandates? Let's keep it real. Like I have a lot of influence. I have a lot of influence. I've taught a lot of things and in ways that no one has taught it. I've done things in this nation and as an individual, just in general, that make me very unique to it. And yet I have very little control over people. Although I have power, I have very little control. You know what I mean? When it's knowledge of self, though, you have the option to take it or not. You know what I mean? Everything that someone does that I taught them to do, or I taught maybe you ought to do like this, or this is how I see this. Um, they had full opportunity to test it. You know what I'm saying? And they had full opportunity to fall victim if what I was saying was right, and they deliberately tried to go the opposite way. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. You know? And I agree with you now, July. I think the it's when the cause is not questioned. You know what I mean? Like for example, say this nation teaches that the black man is God. Some people say blatantly that this is the cause, and they lose sight of the point. You know what I mean? That this is something that not everyone will understand. And the truth is that all people are under this that reality of that truth, but not everyone is to have this truth in that way where they must embrace it. You know what I mean? Where they've got to get it. You've got to understand it. You know what I mean? If you don't understand it, then you're in trouble. Or if you don't give it out where it's understood, then you're not teaching it correctly. I mean, yes, it would come under that control. Certainly, he careered the 20th degree in the 140. Uh, but that's fine. I understand. I don't. I've said many times, like I don't teach that degree like that. If you don't teach, you shall fall. I'm not. Yeah, the Muslim one. They get caught in. They got collected in the batch when the father left. I don't. I don't bear witness to none of that shit. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that if they, we could always get theoretical. Everybody knows if you do the wrong thing, it could lead to a wrong happening. Most likely, that's mathematics, though. You know what I'm saying? You go the wrong way, you'll be in the wrong place. But teach the wrong thing, no, someone will be in the wrong place mentally. Sure, but that's the punishment in itself. That's it. That's all. That's the only punishment. There's nothing else. You know, it's the only thing. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. How long have I been a practitioner of Wing Chun? Well, we've been doing Kung Fu over 20 years. You know, I would say that specifically training at Wing Chun probably since the beginning, but I didn't know I was doing Wing Chun. And if you know our Sigung, like, you know, and you would understand the way I was taught. I didn't know I was doing Wing Chun for a long time. You know, Infinite Mind will understand that. I didn't know that was what I was doing. You know, So for consciously knowing what I was doing, I don't know, 15. 15. Not just that. As long as we keep in mind what each individually promised the nation we would do, we would continue to grow. But that growth also means that we also question the worth of that promise, right? Right. Right. Peace to God, Kasim. I learned a lot of Hungar. Yeah, I did. I learned a lot of Hungar. A lot of my moves come out as you'll see Wing Chun and Hungar in it. Probably most blatantly, but that's only because a lot of the styles I learned were unnamed. They were in nature. They're very specific to specific concepts. So it's not whole forms, whole animal forms you'll see, but adapting parts of animal forms of the different animals and stuff. Often is the way we were taught to go best with what our Sigung thought best for each of us individually. And then learning and growing and seeing other things and just then becoming a sponge for many different things and in nature in general, all in martial arts. Certainly not southern, all southern though. The way I initially learned was northern, but I think I'm older now, so there's less. I display less northern style, because I'm older. I like to do what's more functional. You know, I also like to train daily though, so the northern style kind of it can be very exhausting. Meaning, northern styles and their intensity. Everything. If you see videos, you're seeing parts where I reached, a respectable intensity where you could see something. You know what I'm saying? Where I felt you could see something. Doesn't mean it was everything. And most of my those training videos are usually at the end. This kung fu done at the end of a long, let's say, probably an hour and a half of training, of physical training, weight training, sprints, and running, and strength training of all kinds. So like I try to make it as under duress as possible. The way I was taught. Indeed. I'm glad that you see it that way. I know I had a real kung fu teacher. You know? Indeed, indeed. That's the way that all kung fu should be taught. The principles of it. You know, there are things that we have to develop to be able to do certain things. But in general, There's always a predisposition of our physical capabilities, right? Our height, we can adjust our weight and the quality of our weight, but our height and things like this, our reach, you know, right? So all of these things are, you know, vital. I'm interested. What led you to that? This is the second time a student tells me that. Right? Chad told me that last week, and he also learned in the martial arts. Is this you again? Yeah, because you had a different name. I'm not sure, but of course, Chad. Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. Mhm. You know, I was training one of my students, and I think that we see a lot of uh, Wing Chun done with principle, but it's not a very living principle. So um, the footwork is usually off, and that's why it's rigid. You know, it's pretty much the footwork that is terrible. You know, and sometimes it's forgotten, knowing the roboticness of it, that it's a footwork of Chinese boxing. You know what I'm saying? Right? Um, so that's why. That's funny. It is the most simplified style. There's no way to reckon around it. A bad athlete could do well in Wing Chun. You know, every other fighting style, all around the world, or the globe, you probably will have to be athletically gifted to do well. And Wing Chun has a great possibility that you just have to be diligent. You could be a shitty athlete. That's why I love it, though. You know what I mean? But I also think that it simplifies things so much, though, that the person sometimes moves a little bit too simplistically. So that's what happens. You know, they forget the circles. You know, if you understand kung fu, you know what I mean. You know? Yeah, right, right. Yeah, it's just hard for people to do it efficiently without doing it robotically. Um, and that's the key. You know, like all, it's still kung fu. It's the core of kung fu, but it's usually done without. It gets simplified so much erroneously that the actual flow of kung fu gets stripped of it, and that's where it gets lost. Kasim, your text, yes, you had asked me about books referring to the third degree in the 1 to 14. There aren't many, you know what I'm saying? And people always dispute, and I think one of the reasons that they dispute, like, why am I thinking? No, no, no. Well, I was about to talk about the Indians though, but the Indians isn't the only subject in the third degree in the 1 to 14. I'm assuming the exile. You said the exile Indians exiled. The history of the original man traveling here as those Indians is something that a lot of people don't bear witness to. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think there's good enough research to show that the original man has gone everywhere, that that particular original man becomes this original man that is the original man that comes 50,000 years ago, 25,000 years ago, and fits the description of the degree um, of original people that mix and become part of the populations here, But as far as like a particular exile, I haven't really seen it in any books blatantly like that, you know. I haven't seen it, you know. And then the question is, you're saying the Olmecs didn't bear witness, but bear witness to what? You know what I'm saying? Bear witness to what? You know, what would they be bearing witness to here? You know, the Olmecs have what was said the Olmecs heads, but the Olmec heads were of Ethiopian soldiers. So it shows a unity with the original man, right? But then what would be the mystery here? It doesn't necessarily mean, you know what I mean? And the Olmecs the Olmecs are before, the Olmecs technically could be said to be before um, the 16,000 years, so like earlier than that. Malik, in the build degree, you said in the 1 to 40, what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes? Is so profound, and my question is the layers and currents are many different thoughts, and my other question is what is meant by never drawn above 6 miles. All right, well, you talk about the metaphor and the way that it's used and stuff like that and how it applies. You know what I mean? The currents could be different thoughts. They're also different emotions. They're also the way we carry ourselves differently, different currents, the way you carry yourself. Um, never drawn above 6 miles is the concept of the equality. You know what I'm saying? When we deal with the original woman, you know what I'm saying? Um, everything works in accordance to its own what law. You know what I'm saying? So the fullest equality. You know what I'm saying? The fullest equality, because let's say in the mathematics it goes 6, 7, 8, 9. If the black woman goes 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, theoretically, it only means that they rejuvenate through reaffirmation of who they are and own. So in the mathematics, they would reach 7. They could build and destroy, and they could certainly born things, but it would be under what? Reflecting that light of the original man, but at the same time, though, their own reality. Their own reality. So never drawn up above 6 miles is the relationship of the sun with the earth. You know what I mean? So we take it as being specific to our relationship with the woman, not necessarily to a woman not being able to build and go and reveal herself divinely, right? We could say it's the God degree. Um, change her reality, build and destroy, or reach a level of elevated fulfillment, which is born, right? But it is specific to the relationship of the sun and the earth, right? And she's never drawn drawn up above 6 miles, meaning that what? She's always there for that synergistic. There's always a synergy to it. People look at it like limitation, but it's a balance of synergy. Because if he is here, then she is not here. They are here. You know what I'm saying? He is here, they are here, right? All right, back to the Olmecs. The original man coming to this part of the earth. I was talking the Olmecs bearing witness to the original man coming to the side of the planet. Yeah, it's certainly proven with the Olmec heads that the indigenous here had a relationship that was positive. That was positive to original people that were on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Across the waters. But at the same time, though, they were here before the so-called exiles. So we usually taught that it was because of the mystery. Right. But we have about 5 minutes left. Okay. Um, Absolutely, they will. You know, I think this, right? I'll leave it here, right? I think one of the big problems that we deal with scholarship is that we cannot separate so much. Like it's not. It's literally original people honoring other original people. So like we're defining this, and I say we may be, and I personally think that we absolutely are defining this incorrectly. Indigenous people, the people of that place that had obviously came from Africa themselves, are original people, but they had different migrations and over the many generations developed different phenotypes than are typical of what we expect of the Asiatic black man coming out of Africa, right? Just as myself. So he used me as a physical reality of one of those 2 million Indians. 2 million Indian may has honors the Olmecs. Honors those indigenous from Kemet in those lands of Kemet with those heads. Don't look at it like they build monuments to honor us with, because then now the us becomes those people honored, and then not the people that made the monuments. You see? And here's why I say that, though. It isn't to say to fit in our logic of who's the original man, black, brown, yellow. But the truth is that we don't know why they did that. So we don't know exactly how they thought about themselves. You know what I'm saying? These are soldiers, though, right? These soldiers may have helped fight and secure certain things from them. You don't even know if these are soldiers. I'm just saying, I'm just getting a wild thing. We don't even know if these are soldiers that secured them up against attacks from those same lands that those soldiers are from. Or that those soldiers helped them fortify things against other indigenous tribes of the same lands that they are now in. We don't know all the details, and it's a disrespect to the profoundness that could happen within the details of that history that we can't get so wrapped up in like, oh, these are monuments to us, though. We're taking it that way. You see what I'm saying? But right now, those monuments are just information. All they do is show and prove that original people there knew and original people here knew, and that sometimes there was a synergy of work that they knew each other, and maybe that they chose to document each other. Because we don't even know if, when we study ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet and we study the ancient civilizations, the purpose of a statue isn't like the way we do statues today in the Western world. They had different functions. They had different educational functions and purposes. So it's not even the same thing. It isn't just the straight homage that we see lived out when we watch TV about Egyptians and things like that. Those are westernized concepts. So we're talking about a time when there's no, especially with the exile of the Indians. What are they exiled for? These are original people dealing with each other and dealing with each other differently and with different respects, but they're all original people. So the differences that they have are far different than what we expect they are. And so going back into history, we'll always be stuck with not having the best question to answer about the history because we'd be looking at it from our own lenses. You know what I'm saying? I said the 18 came through. Right. But I'm just saying, do your, especially with histories that go before white man, it most likely means when we're reading about it that we are reading about real life fantasy, something that we cannot comprehend. So we have to remember that there's many concepts that we have to strip so that way we could get to a point where we might be able to make a sense of the possibilities that are there. But we don't know. We really don't know. You know what I mean? That's what's interesting about it. Mm-hmm. So with that said, we are at the 10 o'clock hour. If this is confusing, if this is something else, add on with me, contact me. If you have my number, text me, all of those kind of things. If the training, if you in the New York City area, you do want to train and you want to come out as soon as Saturday and Sunday, I will be training in Staten Island on Saturday, Harlem on Sunday. And then the Zoom training, ask about those because I'll set up specific times and dates that are good for the both of us. All right. And then those rates, I had given them in the video. Those are great rates because if you take me as a worker, how much am I getting per hour, per session? You know what I mean? It's about giving you the highest quality and hopefully earning the money that I get. Right. Right. All right. And I'm glad that this is recording though. So if I said something good, it got recorded. You know what I mean? Kind of like Miles Davis, the way he would do his albums in the 70s. Just record everything. Right? And complete God, it's hard not to make something it ain't because we put our own perspectives. We're going in there to look for certain things, you know, and analyze under certain things specifically to our lessons. And a lot of times, let's be honest, we're trying to make our lessons correct. But that could be a hindrance too. Let's just realize all these things because they'll come out right and exact. They keep coming out right and exact. So don't worry. All right. So until next time, until next week, I am going to keep trying to go back to allow school. That's really the plan. You know what I'm saying? But this class will continue. All right. We keep getting all types of weird shit. It's always, if it ain't one thing, it's the other. But with that, peace to gods and earth, peace to all the civilized people, for all the righteous people, peace to all the savages that tuned in. And hopefully y'all learn. All right. Peace.